Have you ever wondered what happens when the happiest day of someone's life becomes their last? In the golden ballrooms of Mumbai's most prestigious wedding venue, where thousand-year-old traditions meet modern celebrations and family honor is worth more than life itself, Priya Sharma believed she was marrying the man of her dreams. What started as a fairy tale wedding would end in bloodshed, and what began as sacred vows would expose lies so devastating they would destroy two families across 3 generations. This isn't just about a wedding. This is about identity theft, family deception, and how far people will go when they discover their entire future was built on fraud. On the evening of November 18, 2024, the emergency sirens that pierced Mumbai's celebration-filled night weren't part of the traditional wedding fireworks. They were the harsh wail of ambulances racing toward the Grand Maharaja Palace Hotel, where behind crystal chandeliers and silk-draped walls, they would discover a scene that would shock India's wedding industry to its core. The body of Rajesh Kumar, or the man everyone believed was Rajesh Kumar, lay motionless on the marble dance floor, surrounded by scattered rose petals and gold jewelry that had been torn from his wedding attire. His skull was crushed from repeated blows with a ceremonial mace, the same weapon traditionally used to bless new marriages. Standing in a circle around the corpse, their hands stained with blood and their wedding finery torn, were 12 members of the Sharma family, led by the bride's uncle, Vikram Sharma. Their faces showed no remorse, only the cold satisfaction of people who believed they had defended their family's honor against the most heinous betrayal imaginable. Mumbai in 2024 represented the pinnacle of Indian wedding extravagance, where celebrations costing millions of rupees served as displays of family status, business connections, and social influence. Behind the glittering ceremonies and designer lehengas lay an intricate system of arranged marriages where family reputation, caste compatibility, and financial security were more important than individual happiness. The Grand Maharaja Palace Hotel existed at the apex of this wedding ecosystem, hosting celebrations for Bollywood stars, business tycoons, and political dynasties, whose unions were covered by international media and attended by thousands of guests. Every detail, from the imported flowers to the celebrity wedding planners, was designed to create memories that would be treasured for generations. But for families like the Sharmas, who had spent their life savings on this once-in-a-lifetime celebration, the wedding represented more than ceremony. It was their daughter's gateway to prosperity, and their family's validation in Mumbai's competitive social hierarchy. Priya Sharma was born on March 10, 1998, into a family where education and marriage were viewed as equally important paths to securing a woman's future. Her father, Suresh Sharma, worked as a senior manager at Mumbai's State Bank of India, his career built on careful financial planning and unwavering adherence to traditional values. Her mother, Kavita, had been a school teacher before marriage, but dedicated herself to raising Priya and her younger brother with strict emphasis on academic achievement and cultural preservation. From childhood, Priya excelled in both modern education and traditional expectations. At 25, she held a master's degree in computer science from Mumbai University, worked as a software engineer for a multinational corporation, and earned rupee 15 lakhs annually, making her one of the most eligible brides in her community. But despite her professional success, Priya understood that her ultimate fulfillment was expected to come through marriage to a suitable husband who could provide security, status, and the blessing of children that would complete her identity as an Indian woman. The Sharma family's search for Priya's husband began in earnest when she turned 24, the age when unmarried women in their community began facing subtle but persistent social pressure. Through a respected marriage broker, Mrs. Sunita Agarwal, they were introduced to what seemed like the perfect match. Rajesh Kumar, a 28-year-old software engineer working for Google's Bangalore office. Rajesh's profile was impressive. IIT Delhi graduate, annual salary of 50 lakhs, owns a 3 BHK apartment in Bangalore's prestigious Koramangala district, comes from a well-respected Brahmin family in Chennai. Most importantly, he was tall, handsome, well-spoken, and showed genuine interest in Priya's career ambitions. "He's everything we hoped for," Kavita told her sister after the first family meeting. "Educated, successful, from a good family, and he actually wants Priya to continue working after marriage. It's like a miracle." During their 6-month courtship, conducted under the watchful eyes of both families according to traditional customs, Rajesh consistently exceeded expectations. He brought thoughtful gifts, spoke respectfully to elders, demonstrated deep knowledge of Hindu scriptures, and showed Priya the kind of attention that made her believe she was truly loved rather than simply selected. Their conversations revealed shared interests in technology, travel, and plans for their future together, that included supporting both families and eventually having children who would be raised with both modern opportunities and traditional values. "I feel like I've known him forever," Priya confided to her best friend, Meera, during one of their shopping trips for wedding saris. "He understands my dreams, supports my career, and makes me laugh. I'm actually excited about this marriage instead of just accepting it." The Sharma family committed to a wedding celebration that would reflect both Priya's achievements and their family's respect for tradition. The budget of 50 lakhs represented their life savings plus loans that would take years to repay, but they viewed it as an investment in their daughter's happiness and their family's social standing. Every detail was planned to perfection. 800 guests, 3 days of ceremonies, designer outfits for the bride and groom, professional photography and videography, traditional musicians, celebrity wedding planners, and a reception at Mumbai's most prestigious venue. What the Sharma family didn't know was that, while they were planning the celebration of their daughter's future, they were actually funding the elaborate finale of a con artist's most audacious fraud. The man the Sharma family knew as Rajesh Kumar was actually Ravi Prakash, a 32-year-old con artist from Delhi with a criminal history spanning 8 years and 17 different identities. Born into poverty in a Delhi slum, Ravi had discovered early that his natural intelligence, handsome appearance, and ability to mimic different regional accents made him extraordinarily successful at identity fraud. His specialty was infiltrating India's arranged marriage market, where families made crucial decisions based on limited information and social verification systems that could be easily manipulated by someone with his skills and patience. Unlike typical marriage fraudsters who sought quick financial gain, Ravi operated sophisticated long-term schemes that involved completely assuming someone else's identity, including their education credentials, employment history, family background, and social connections. The real Rajesh Kumar was indeed a successful software engineer working for Google in Bangalore, exactly as Ravi had represented to the Sharma family. But the real Rajesh was currently in a coma in Bangalore's Manipal hospital, the result of an accidental fall from his apartment balcony 6 months earlier. The same week Ravi had first contacted the marriage broker about meeting the Sharma family. Ravi's method was brutally efficient. Identify successful, unmarried men living alone in different cities, study their lives through social media and professional networks, then arrange accidents that would incapacitate his victims without killing them. This allowed him to assume their identities while avoiding murder charges if caught. The real Rajesh's family in Chennai believed he was recovering from his injuries while working on a top-secret Google project that required minimal contact. His employers thought he was taking extended medical leave. His neighbors assumed he had returned to his family home for treatment. Over 6 months, Ravi had methodically assumed every aspect of Rajesh's identity. Using stolen keys, he regularly visited Rajesh's apartment to collect mail, maintain the appearance of occupancy, and study personal documents that helped him perfect his impersonation. He forged employment letters from Google, created fake salary slips showing Rajesh's impressive income, and even hired actors to pose as Rajesh's family members during the formal introduction meetings with the Sharma family. The most sophisticated element of his scheme was creating a completely fictitious family background, complete with fake parents, siblings, and extended relatives who existed only in carefully crafted social media profiles and fabricated documents. Police investigation would later reveal that Ravi had successfully executed this scheme 4 previous times across different Indian states. His previous marriages had ended when he disappeared with his bride's dowry, leaving behind devastated families and no trace of his real identity. His victims included Sunita Reddy, Hyderabad, 2019, lost 25 lakhs in dowry. Anjali Patel, Ahmedabad, 2021, lost 30 lakhs plus gold jewelry. Deepika Nair, Kochi, 2022, lost 40 lakhs and family business secrets. Pooja Gupta, Delhi, 2023, lost 35 lakhs and was left pregnant. Each crime had been reported to local police, but Ravi's use of different identities and interstate operations made it nearly impossible for authorities to connect the cases or track his movements. The Sharma family represented Ravi's most ambitious target yet. Their daughter's combination of beauty, education, and earning potential, plus the family's willingness to spend their life savings on the wedding, created an opportunity for his biggest fraud yet. His plan was to collect the substantial dowry, 20 lakhs in cash plus gold jewelry worth 15 lakhs, consummate the marriage to satisfy his personal desires, then disappear during the honeymoon while Priya was sleeping. What Ravi hadn't anticipated was that his previous victims' families had been coordinating through social media, sharing information about their similar experiences, and actively investigating the man who had destroyed their daughters' lives. The 3-day wedding celebration began with traditional Mehndi and Sangeet ceremonies that showcased the best of both families' cultural heritage and social connections. 800 guests filled the Grand Maharaja Palace Hotel's largest ballroom, where the combined cost of flowers, decorations, catering, and entertainment exceeded most people's annual salaries. Ravi, playing his role as the perfect groom Rajesh Kumar, moved through the ceremonies with practiced ease. He performed traditional rituals correctly, received blessings from elders respectfully, and charmed guests with his intelligence and humor. To observers, he appeared to be everything an Indian family could want for their daughter. Priya radiated happiness throughout the ceremonies, her designer lehengas and inherited family jewelry making her appear like a Bollywood bride. She had never felt more beautiful, more loved, or more optimistic about her future than during those magical 3 days. Unknown to the celebrating families, 200 kilometers away in Delhi, Pooja Gupta was conducting a desperate investigation that would soon destroy the wedding's joyful atmosphere. As Ravi's most recent victim, she had spent 8 months pregnant and abandoned, using that time to track down other women who had been similarly betrayed. Through social media detective work and hiring a private investigator, Pooja had identified the pattern of Ravi's crimes and realized that the man calling himself Rajesh Kumar was actually the serial marriage fraudster who had destroyed her life. On November 18th, as the Mumbai wedding festivities reached their peak, Pooja received confirmation from her investigator that the groom's employment verification documents were forged, and that the real Rajesh Kumar was unconscious in a Bangalore hospital. At 8:47 p.m., during the reception's most joyous moment as Priya and Rajesh fed each other wedding cake, Pooja's phone call reached Priya's cousin, Arjun Sharma. As a Mumbai police constable, Arjun was the family member most likely to understand the legal implications of what Pooja was revealing. "The man your cousin married is not Rajesh Kumar," Pooja said, her voice breaking with emotion. "He's Ravi Prakash, a serial marriage fraudster. He destroyed my life and he's about to destroy hers. You have to stop him before he disappears with her dowry." Arjun's initial reaction was disbelief. The evidence of successful marriage, happy families, and proper documentation seemed to contradict this stranger's claims. But Pooja's detailed knowledge of Rajesh's behavior patterns, combined with her desperate urgency, convinced him to investigate immediately. Using his police connections, Arjun began making calls to verify Rajesh's identity while the reception continued around him. Within 30 minutes, he had confirmed that Google Bangalore had no employee named Rajesh Kumar in their current roster. The phone numbers for Rajesh's family were disconnected. The Chennai address listed as his family home was actually a commercial building. Bank records showed no account matching the financial profile provided. Most damning of all, Bangalore police confirmed that the real Rajesh Kumar was indeed in a coma at Manipal Hospital, having fallen from his balcony the same week the marriage negotiations had begun. As the reception reached its climax with traditional dance performances and gift-giving ceremonies, Arjun gathered the male members of the Sharma family to share what he had discovered. The revelation that their daughter had just married a con artist and that they had spent their life savings celebrating a fraud triggered a collective rage that would soon turn lethal. "He's not just lying about his identity," Arjun explained to his uncles and cousins. "He's done this before, multiple times. He marries girls, takes their dowry, and abandons them. Priya is just his latest victim." The decision to confront Ravi immediately, in front of all 800 wedding guests, was motivated by both fury and the practical concern that he might escape during the night, leaving Priya devastated and the family financially ruined. The confrontation began when Vikram Sharma, Priya's uncle and the family's unofficial patriarch, approached the head table where Priya and Rajesh were receiving congratulations from guests. What should have been a private conversation quickly escalated as Vikram's accusations attracted the attention of nearby family members and wedding guests. "Who are you really?" Vikram demanded, his voice rising above the celebration music. "Because you're not Rajesh Kumar. The real Rajesh Kumar is in a hospital in Bangalore, and you're nothing but a fraud who has destroyed my niece's life." Ravi's response demonstrated both his criminal experience and his fatal underestimation of the Sharma family's capacity for violence. Rather than attempting to defuse the situation or escape quietly, he chose to maintain his deception with increased aggression. "Uncle, I think there's been some misunderstanding," Ravi replied, his voice calm but his body language defensive. "Perhaps someone is trying to create problems for our family's happiness. Why don't we discuss this privately tomorrow?" But Arjun had prepared for this moment by printing hospital records, police reports, and employment verification documents that made Ravi's deception undeniable. As he spread the papers across the wedding table, the evidence created a circle of shocked family members whose emotions rapidly shifted from confusion to rage. The hospital records showing the real Rajesh Kumar's condition were particularly damning, as they included photographs that clearly showed the unconscious victim looked nothing like the man who had just married Priya. "You didn't just lie to us," Arjun said, his police training evident as he systematically presented each piece of evidence. "You attacked an innocent man, stole his identity, and married our daughter under false pretenses. This is criminal fraud on a massive scale." The moment Priya understood that her new husband was a complete stranger who had built their entire relationship on lies, was captured by the wedding videographer, creating footage that would later be used as evidence in the murder trial. Her reaction, screaming, tearing at her wedding jewelry, and collapsing onto the floor in her heavy lehenga, triggered a protective response from her male relatives that quickly escalated beyond rational thought. "I trusted you," Priya sobbed, looking at the man she had believed loved her. "I gave you my whole heart, my whole future. Who are you? Who did I just marry?" Her emotional breakdown in front of 800 guests represented not just personal betrayal, but public humiliation that demanded immediate response according to traditional concepts of family honor. In traditional Indian culture, A daughter's public humiliation reflects directly on her male relatives' ability to protect their family's reputation. The sight of Priya weeping in her wedding dress while surrounded by evidence of her husband's deception triggered a collective response from 12 men whose honor had been publicly challenged. Vikram Sharma's declaration would later be used as evidence of premeditation. "This man has dishonored our daughter, stolen our money, and made fools of our entire family in front of everyone we know. He cannot be allowed to leave here alive." The transition from confrontation to violence happened within minutes, as family members surrounded Ravi while guests began backing away, sensing that the celebration was about to become something far more dangerous. Ravi's final mistake was attempting to leave the reception without acknowledging his crimes or showing remorse for the devastation he had caused. When he stood to walk away from the evidence table, dismissing the accusations as family drama, the Sharma men interpreted his behavior as contempt for their family's pain. "You're not going anywhere," Vikram said, grabbing Ravi's arm as he tried to leave. "You're going to face what you've done to our daughter and our family." The physical contact that began as restraint quickly escalated into the violence that would end Ravi's life and destroy the Sharma family's future. The violence that ended Ravi Prakash's life began when he physically pushed Vikram Sharma away from him and declared, "I don't have to listen to this nonsense from people who don't understand modern marriage." His dismissive attitude toward the family's pain, combined with his physical aggression toward an elder, triggered the collective rage that 12 men had been building throughout the confrontation. The wedding's traditional security guards, hired to manage crowds and prevent theft, were completely unprepared for family members attacking the groom. Their initial attempts to intervene were overwhelmed by the number of attackers and the emotional intensity driving the violence. Hotel guests began fleeing the ballroom as the Sharma men surrounded Ravi, their wedding finery torn and their faces twisted with fury that had been building since learning of his deception. The weapons used to kill Ravi were the same traditional items that had blessed the wedding ceremony hours earlier. The golden mace that had been used to perform ritual blessings became the primary murder weapon, while ornamental swords and ceremonial daggers, all part of the wedding's traditional decorations, were wielded by family members whose cultural programming told them that honor required blood. "You used our traditions to deceive us," Vikram shouted as he struck Ravi with the ceremonial mace. "Now our traditions will deliver your punishment." The symbolic significance of using wedding blessing items to commit murder was not lost on the attackers, who viewed their actions as restoring balance to the cosmic order that Ravi had disrupted through his deception. What began as Vikram's individual response quickly became a coordinated group attack as other Sharma men joined the violence. Psychological studies would later identify this as a classic example of diffusion of responsibility, where individual moral constraints dissolve in group settings when collective honor is perceived to be under threat. The beating continued for approximately 8 minutes, during which time Ravi suffered massive head trauma, internal bleeding, and ultimately fatal injuries. His attempts to defend himself or escape were prevented by the coordinated nature of the attack and the wedding venue's layout, which trapped him in the center of the ballroom. Throughout the murder, Priya remained at the head table, still wearing her wedding dress and jewelry, watching her new husband being beaten to death by her own family members. The psychological trauma of witnessing extreme violence immediately after discovering her marriage was fraudulent, would require years of psychiatric treatment. Her screams for the violence to stop were ignored by her male relatives, who believed they were defending her honor rather than traumatizing her further. The cultural disconnect between male concepts of honor and female experiences of violence was starkly displayed during these crucial minutes. Ravi Prakash died on the marble floor of the Grand Maharaja Palace Hotel's main ballroom, surrounded by the scattered remnants of what should have been the happiest day of 2 families' lives. His final words, captured by wedding videographers who continued recording throughout the attack, were, "Please stop. I have a daughter." This revelation, that Ravi had children who would be orphaned by his death, added another layer of tragedy to an event that had already destroyed multiple families across multiple generations. In the minutes following Ravi's death, the ballroom fell into an eerie silence as 800 wedding guests processed what they had just witnessed. The cultural programming that had driven the violence now created paralysis, as everyone present understood that they were accessories to a murder that would have massive legal and social consequences. The Sharma men, still holding bloody ceremonial weapons, looked down at Ravi's corpse with expressions ranging from satisfaction to dawning horror, as they realized that defending their family's honor had just destroyed their family's future. Mumbai police arrived at the Grand Maharaja Palace Hotel 37 minutes after the first emergency call, initially expecting to manage a wedding venue disturbance rather than investigate a murder scene with 800 witnesses. Inspector Rajesh Patil, a 15-year veteran of Mumbai's most violent cases, immediately recognized that the crime scene's complexity would make it one of the most challenging investigations of his career. The ballroom had been preserved exactly as it was during the murder, with Ravi's body surrounded by bloody ceremonial weapons, scattered wedding decorations, and guests who were too shocked to leave despite being technically free to go. "I've never seen anything like this," Inspector Patil told his team as they surveyed the scene. "A murder committed by the bride's family in front of hundreds of witnesses, using wedding ceremony items as weapons. This is going to be a legal nightmare." The investigation's most unique aspect was the availability of multiple forms of evidence that made the crime impossible to deny or minimize. Professional wedding videographers had captured the entire sequence from confrontation to murder, providing prosecutors with unprecedented documentation of an honor killing as it unfolded. Additionally, 800 wedding guests served as potential witnesses, though their testimonies would prove complicated by cultural loyalties and the social pressure to protect family honor rather than seek justice. Most guests expressed sympathy for the Sharma family's position while condemning their violent response. "What Ravi did was terrible," one guest told investigators, "but murder is not the answer to marriage fraud." All 12 men who participated in Ravi's murder were arrested at the crime scene, their blood-stained wedding attire serving as evidence of their participation. The arrests transformed the Sharma family from wedding celebrants to criminal defendants within hours. Vikram Sharma, as the acknowledged leader of the attack, was charged with murder in the first degree. His 11 relatives faced charges ranging from voluntary manslaughter to assault with deadly weapons, depending on their level of participation. The sight of respected family men being led away in handcuffs, while still wearing their wedding finery, created powerful imagery that would dominate Indian media coverage for weeks. Priya's legal situation represented an unprecedented challenge for Indian family law. She was simultaneously the victim of marriage fraud and the widow of a murder victim, with unclear rights to any property or legal remedies. Her marriage to Ravi was legally valid regardless of his identity deception, making her his legal heir despite learning his real name only after his death. The dowry money and gifts given during the wedding became evidence in multiple criminal cases. "I don't know who I am anymore," Priya told investigators during her statement. "Am I married to Rajesh Kumar, who doesn't exist? Am I the widow of Ravi Prakash, who I never met? Am I still a bride, or am I a murder witness?" Prosecutors faced the unusual challenge of pursuing murder charges against defendants who were clearly victims of elaborate fraud, while defending a victim whose criminal behavior had triggered the violence that killed him. The defense strategy emerged quickly: temporary insanity caused by extreme emotional distress, combined with cultural justification for protecting family honor when faced with unprecedented deception and humiliation. "Our clients were driven to temporary madness by discovering that their daughter's entire marriage was an elaborate criminal fraud, defense attorney Priya Sharma announced. No family should have to endure the level of deception and humiliation that was inflicted upon the Sharma family. The state versus Vikram Sharma and 11 others opened in Mumbai's Sessions Court as one of the most watched criminal trials in Indian legal history. The case attracted national media attention because it embodied fundamental conflicts between traditional family honor, modern legal justice, and the changing nature of arranged marriage in contemporary India. Judge Meera Desai, one of Mumbai's most experienced criminal court judges, faced the unprecedented challenge of adjudicating a case where the defendants were simultaneously perpetrators of murder and victims of elaborate fraud. The courtroom was packed daily with journalists, legal observers, family members, and members of the public who saw the case as a referendum on honor killing, marriage fraud, and the limits of family loyalty. Chief Prosecutor Anil Khanna built his case around the fundamental principle that fraud, regardless of its emotional impact, cannot justify murder. His strategy focused on the premeditated nature of the violence, the availability of legal remedies that the defendants ignored, and the excessive brutality used against a single unarmed man. The defendants discovered they were victims of fraud, Prosecutor Khanna argued during opening statements. But instead of seeking justice through legal means, they chose to become murderers. Their pain does not justify taking another human being's life. The prosecution's presentation of wedding video footage showing the systematic beating was devastating, as it demonstrated the coordinated nature of the attack and the defendant's sustained intent to cause fatal harm. Defense attorney Priya Sharma argued that his clients had suffered extreme emotional distress that temporarily eliminated their capacity for rational decision-making. His strategy focused on the elaborate nature of Ravi's deception, the cultural significance of marriage in Indian society, and the psychological impact of public humiliation. Imagine discovering that your daughter's entire marriage, celebrated in front of 800 guests and costing your family's life savings, was an elaborate criminal fraud, defense attorney Sharma told the jury. My clients were not thinking clearly. They were acting as any fathers and uncles would when faced with such unprecedented betrayal. The defense called cultural experts to testify about the role of family honor in Indian society and the psychological effects of discovering major fraud during what should have been life's happiest moments. The trial's most complex aspect was determining how to present Ravi's extensive criminal history without appearing to justify his murder. Evidence showed that he had defrauded at least 4 previous families, abandoned pregnant wives, and potentially caused the hospitalization of the real Rajesh Kumar. Dr. Anjali Mehta, a forensic psychologist, testified about the psychological profile of serial marriage fraudsters and their impact on victims' families. Ravi Prakash was a predator who systematically destroyed families for financial gain, she explained. But understanding his crimes doesn't excuse the violence used against him. The revelation that Ravi had children from previous relationships, including a daughter with Pooja Gupta, added another layer of moral complexity to the case. The trial's most emotional moment came when Priya testified about her experience of discovering her marriage was fraudulent while watching her family murder her husband. Her testimony was crucial for both prosecution and defense, as it demonstrated both the devastating impact of Ravi's fraud and the additional trauma caused by her family's violent response. I was destroyed twice that night, Priya told the court through tears. First, when I learned that the man I married didn't exist, and then when I watched my family become murderers. I lost my husband, my marriage, my family, and my faith in love all in the same moment. Her testimony revealed the often overlooked impact of honor killings on the women they are supposedly designed to protect. The trial featured extensive testimony from sociologists, anthropologists, and religious scholars about the role of honor in Indian family structures and the cultural factors that can drive ordinary people to commit extraordinary violence. Dr. Ramesh Gupta, a leading expert on Indian marriage customs, testified that arranged marriage fraud represents a fundamental violation of sacred trust that triggers responses rooted in centuries of cultural programming about family protection and honor defense. But progressive scholars argued that honor killing has no basis in authentic Hindu or Islamic traditions and represents patriarchal corruption of religious values rather than legitimate cultural practice. The jury's 5-day deliberation reflected the broader Indian society's struggle to balance traditional values with modern legal principles. The 12 jurors, representing diverse backgrounds from Mumbai's multicultural population, faced the unprecedented challenge of determining appropriate punishment for defendants who were simultaneously criminals and victims. Leaked information from the jury room revealed intense debates about the relationship between cultural tradition and criminal law, with some jurors arguing that the extreme nature of Ravi's deception justified reduced sentences, while others maintained that murder could never be excused regardless of provocation. The final verdict represented a compromise that satisfied neither prosecution nor defense completely, but reflected the complex moral terrain the case had exposed. Judge Meera Desai delivered verdicts that established important precedents for honor-killing prosecutions in India. Vikram Sharma, as the acknowledged leader of the attack, was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter rather than premeditated murder, acknowledging the extreme emotional distress that had triggered his actions. His sentence of 12 years imprisonment with possibility of parole after 8 years reflected the court's recognition that his crimes were motivated by family protection rather than personal malice. The 11 other defendants received sentences ranging from 5 to 10 years, depending on their level of participation and their family relationships to the victim and bride. The differentiated sentences acknowledged that group violence often involves varying degrees of individual culpability. Judge Desai's verdict established crucial precedents for future honor-killing cases in Indian courts. Her ruling that extreme emotional distress caused by criminal fraud could serve as a mitigating factor in murder cases provided a legal framework for similar situations, while maintaining that violence remained criminal regardless of provocation. This court recognizes that the defendants were victims of unprecedented deception that would cause extreme emotional distress to any family, Judge Desai stated during sentencing. However, the availability of legal remedies means that violence cannot be justified as the only available response to fraud. The verdict was hailed by women's rights organizations as establishing that honor killings would face serious criminal penalties, while traditional family advocates argued that the sentences were appropriate given the extreme provocation the defendants had faced. The Sharma family's financial ruin was comprehensive and irreversible. Legal fees for defending 12 family members exceeded rupee 40 lakhs, while civil lawsuits from Ravi's previous victims and his children created additional financial obligations that would take generations to resolve. The wedding expenses, originally intended as an investment in Priya's future happiness, became a financial burden that would haunt the family for decades. The loans taken to fund the celebration, combined with legal costs and lost income during the men's imprisonment, effectively ended the family's middle-class status. "We spent everything we had celebrating what we thought was our daughter's happiness," Suresh Sharma reflected during a rare interview. "Instead, we funded the destruction of our entire family." Priya's life after the trial represented a unique form of social exile, as she was simultaneously pitied as a victim of fraud and stigmatized as the widow of a murdered criminal. Her attempts to rebuild her life were complicated by media attention, social judgment, and the psychological trauma of her wedding night experiences. Her decision to change her name and relocate to Bangalore, ironically, the same city where the real Rajesh Kumar remained in a coma, represented her attempt to escape the notoriety that would forever define her in Mumbai. The trial's aftermath revealed that Ravi's death had orphaned 3 children from his previous fraudulent marriages, including a 4-year-old daughter with Pooja Gupta. These children, innocent victims of their father's crimes, faced stigma and financial hardship that would affect their entire lives. A trust fund established with donations from the public provided some financial support for Ravi's children, but could not address the psychological impact of learning that their father was both a serial criminal and a murder victim. Priya's case prompted the most comprehensive marriage fraud prevention legislation in Indian history. The Marriage Verification Act of 2025, passed by Parliament in response to national outrage over the case, established mandatory identity verification systems for all arranged marriages and created criminal penalties for marriage fraud that could result in 20-year prison sentences. The legislation required marriage brokers to maintain detailed records of client verification processes, mandated police background checks for all arranged marriage participants, and created a national database of marriage fraud cases that could prevent serial offenders from operating across state lines. No family should suffer what the Sharma family endured, announced Minister of Home Affairs Rajnath Singh during the bill's signing ceremony. This legislation will protect both families seeking suitable marriages and prevent the kind of deception that led to such tragic violence. The Indian government partnered with technology companies to develop digital verification systems that could instantly confirm identity documents, employment records, and family background information. The Trust Match app, launched in 2026, became mandatory for all registered marriage brokers and provided real-time verification of potential spouse credentials. True honor comes from seeking justice through proper channels, explained Dr. Kavita Krishnan, who developed the curriculum. Violence destroys the very families it claims to protect. The Priya Sharma Foundation, established with public donations and government support, provides comprehensive assistance for marriage fraud victims, including legal aid, psychological counseling, financial support, and help with identity recovery.